First, let's just take a moment and cultivate the mind of bodhicitta. Okay, so then we can talk a little bit about this practice that Rinpoche suggested a couple days ago. The extremely ultra concise, super abbreviated practice of Khorwa Dongtruk. Actually, we should talk a bit. I'll just give you like a brief overview of what that whole cycle is, and then that'll help understand this kind of condensed version. So, this Khorwa Dongtruk, stirring the depths or emptying the depths of samsara. This is this particular cycle where Rinpoche has extracted this very small portion is from the terma, the treasure of that same name, from Chogyur Lingpa. So we had Jamyang Khyentse Wangpo, Jamgon Kongtrul, and Orgyen Chogyur Lingpa were kind of the three great treasure revealers of late 18th century, kind of the Rime movement. Jamgon Kongtrul and Khyentse Wangpo are known as the kind of people who initiated this Rime movement. But Chogyur Lingpa is the third kind of component in that. So these three great treasure revealers kind of fed off of each other, you can say, in a way. Helping each other discover termas, validating each other's termas, and then helping codify and write down each other's termas in some cases. Sometimes they even co-discovered things. One master would find the key to something, it would kind of open up, then they would realize it was for the other, one of the other of the trio. So in this case, this great compassionate one, stirrer of the depths of samsara, from this Lama Thugrup cycle. So like the heart essence of the guru cycle, there's many practices. This is one called Tukje Chempo, the great compassionate one, stirrer of the depths of samsara. So at the time, Chogyur Lingpa, he actually revealed like dozens and dozens of treasures, Some are earth terma, some are mind terma. And this one is called Tromter. This is actually called like a public discovery. So a few times that will happen, or like if the treasure revealer actually will bring a gathering of people together and say, today I'm going to reveal this terma at this time and this place. So this cycle falls under one of those like public terma discoveries. So he went to whatever spot, I don't know what spot it was in, somewhere in Dokam, and gathered some people and then extracted the terma, which consists of the keys to kind of have the text revealed, but terma can also be substances. So whatever substances are connected with the cycle, whatever statue, like rupa, form images, stuff like that. So usually we think of terma as just text, but actually terma can be anything that was placed as an object of liberation by Guru Rinpoche. So this text actually, or this cycle actually has the practice of making mendrup and mani pills. So I'm sure part of the discovery was actually some substances. All right, so this Khorwa Dongtruk, that term is actually in a lot of Nyingma practices and tantras. So it usually involves any practice that has to do with sort of like how we do it. Rinpoche propagates the teaching of the Jangchok, right? This kind of practice for liberating the deceased and benefiting those who are living. This falls into a similar category, something like that. this is a practice of Chenrezig, right? So Tugje Chempo, great compassionate one, usually refers to Chenrezig. And this form, the image Rinpoche gave, he really likes this like small children form of things. It's like it's his own thing. The traditional image is like, Chenrezig kind of in full maturity, and same thing, red, wearing this kind of like angrang type pants, holding the mala in the right hand, and the vase that bestows liberation in the left hand. And he's standing because he's standing looking down upon all the lower realms, right? And this standing represents compassionate activity. So anytime you see a deity standing, this is kind of going into the activity part of it. And the whole cycle revolves around reciting the Mani mantra, and then like you can see the mantra that was attached to the text that was distributed. This Om Vipula Garbe Mani Prabhe. This long kind of like mantra is what's done for the activity portion. So you have like Om Mani Padme Hum. This is kind of the accumulation or like the generation stage, and like you can say like even purifying your own mind stream. And then once you accumulate that for some time and you kind of rest and settle, then you add the Dongtruk mantra, and this is the activity of like liberating beings or starting to like benefit beings. Another feature of the cycle is that it has kind of these 6 modes of liberation, all connected with the Mani mantra. And so it would have like liberation by taste, so Mani pills, right? Making the Mani pills. Liberation by touch, wearing like tagdrels. Liberation by seeing, so like seeing like the tagdrel image. Or tondrel is liberation by touch, tagdrel liberation by sight. And then there's a method for blessing water. You basically make like you carve like a mani stone with like certain symbols. You do a certain amount of mantras in retreat, and you throw that in like bodies of water that benefits all the beings in the water and whoever might use that as a water source to drink. There is method for consecrating cemetery sand. So you find like a place that hasn't been touched. I think it says something like that hasn't been walked over by humans or dogs. So as long as a human or a dog didn't walk over it. Monkeys maybe, it's okay, but no dogs, right? So if you go to that place, you do this sadhana, you recite certain mantras, you take the sand, blow on it, then anybody who's cremated or thrown in a charnel ground there, then is considered to be liberated into the realm of Tugje Chempo, of like Avalokiteshvara, right? And then there's another method that's interesting, where it's you make like a small mandala, you place it in the center. It says place it in the center of like a town or a busy crossroads, and then with the particular melody, which I don't know what the melody is, but like you chant in a beautiful loud voice this Mani mantra. You just kind of stand at a corner and chant it, and this liberates all beings who hear. So the practice, according to Chogyur Lingpa, this was like the most profound terma to arise to benefit beings, and I think in his own words he said something like, this is the only practice that has any hope to liberate beings during this degenerate time. So that's kind of the background of, or like a quick background of the cycle. It's practiced a lot today. It's still in many Nyingma monasteries, especially in like the lineage that holds up the Chokling Tersar. Like this is really, really practiced a lot. It's in the Rinchen Terzo too, so if you guys are gonna follow that cycle that's being given pretty soon, like at some point it's in the Rinchen Terzo, four of the texts are. Okay, now we'll look at this short text, and then I'll elaborate a bit on kind of what the longer text talks about, and then that will help. So Rinpoche extracted those words, right? And every drop of water in the form of Khorwa Dongtruk, the emptier of samsara's depths, appears. For all into whose mouths it passes, it carries the power to empty samsara to its depths. So this is similar to when we read the Shanti Deva's aspiration prayer, when like Manjughosha appears to like the hell beings, right? Or these bodhisattvas appear and it says, may they experience a gentle rain that comes down and kind of like alleviates their suffering. This is kind of the same ideal, right? Now we're taking it into like a tantric viewpoint a little bit, but this is basically where the base of these practices comes from the minds of these great beings or Guru Rinpoche or whatnot. The basis is already there in like the Mahayana path. Now it's the way the method is applied is a bit different. So here we arise as red Chenrezig, red, standing, holding the mala, holding the vase. And when we accumulate this mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum, then just like in any generation stage, right, this Tongju happens where like light emanates out from the heart, receiving the blessings of all Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Guru Rinpoche, Chenrezig, comes back into our being, right? Visualize this red Chenrezig here. And then we're filled with all the blessings of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 10 directions and 3 times. And this kind of blessing power, this is like Jinlab, this waves of blessing that we receive, fills our entire being, right, in the visualization. This overflows from our body, actually, and kind of rains down to all beings below in the 6 realms. So sort of, it's kind of like a Vajrasattva practice, you know, when you're doing Vajrasattva, the nectar of Vajrasattva goes into your crown or whatnot. Here you're visualizing that your body itself is kind of like pouring down the blessings of all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in the form of, you know, here it's like drops of water or like the rain of compassion. It's really like the rain of compassion that falls down on beings. And this is where it says in the longer text, I believe it says something like, when like the mind of compassion or bodhicitta is aroused, right, and you abide in that, this actually is what empties the depths of samsara. We've heard it a lot of times during meditation teachings, or teachings on the nature of mind, or how to really benefit others. It's that when your mind is in a state of open clarity, and there's no grasping, no self-clinging, then at that point, actually, it's probably only for like a moment, even like 2 seconds or 3 seconds, but whatever. In that moment, there's no samsara, there's no nirvana, you're just abiding in a state of like complete total openness. That's like reconnecting with like your true nature. This is what it means to empty the depths of samsara. So it also, when you think about how awakened beings can benefit others, it's never going to be through just some like outer circumstance. It has to come from the mind that's completely devoid of grasping, self-grasping, and like outer and inner, good or bad, acceptance, rejection, right? It has to be abiding in a state of total openness, which is the ultimate bodhicitta, right? Then from that state, benefit can happen. So then in that state, if a being who possesses that unbroken continuity is able to touch an object, put their intention and like mingle with that object, and through seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, or touching, then that object itself can become a form of support that leads beings into a cycle of liberation. So this is like how the kind of modes of liberation will work, right? So like, for example, liberation by seeing, through like seeing a yantra or something. It's not that, it's just words and symbols. Like, why would that liberate? Well, it's because the bodhisattva, the Buddha, the being, the great mahayogis that arose through, it's that tendril and that particular sequence of things written down with their mind infused in love and compassion while they were kind of creating that external like Nirmanakaya image to be seen. It's the tendril of the awakened mind that's infused in that while it happens that allows a bridge to liberation. So it's not just like inherently some image has the power to heal, or like some taste has the power to heal. It has to be infused with this great wish to benefit others. So this is how anything can actually lead and be a bridge, right? Because it's all bridges. It's like how do you connect a bridge of the mind, of the eyes, of taste, of hearing? Like what could be a pathway to lead to liberation? So this is kind of how it works. So first you establish through the mantra yourself in a state of kind of equanimity, openness, and like peace, right? Dwelling in this kind of vast quality of awareness. Then from that, this is stirring the depths of samsara of your own mind, right? Of your own dimension. Then from that, you do the visualization of this kind of rain of blessings falling down on all beings in all places and all realms, right? And through this, and kind of like bridging this like space of self and other, then you're just kind of extending this mode of compassion out farther and farther and farther. And of course, mainly this is going to be, in one way, this is a training for you to collapse your small space of feeling at kind of at ease, at peace, being open, right? Like it needs to extend to all things, outer and inner environment, and kind of infuse as deeply as possible without limit. And then this is the symbolism of the vase in the hand of Red Chenrezig, right? It's like the quenching vase of the nectar that heals all maladies. So it's the same thing before we receive an empowerment, we receive the bumpa water to purify and cleanse any impurities, right? The water itself is like infused with mantra, and then what we're supposed to be doing is take the water and feeling, now I'm infused, my whole body is actually completely enriched and saturated with like blessings and the mode of like kind of resetting myself so I can receive the empowerment. So we have like the outer example through receiving the purification of the vase water, and here this visualization and symbol of the vase and Red Chenrezig's hand is the same thing. Like your activity in your mind and the bodhicitta that you cultivate is actually this vase that holds the great nectar of knowing, right? Like the mind itself that's open and free of boundaries is the vast palace of the vase. Like your condition is the vase itself. What arises within it, right? Your cultivation of love, compassion, relative and ultimate bodhicitta, and resting in that, this is the nectar that resides in the vase. This pours out through your intention, right? It's only through our prayers and our intention and our wish to benefit. This is the pouring out, right? So this is kind of the symbolism of the vase. So then here it's like quite short, right? It says recite the 6-syllable mantra and the Dongtruk mantra after you do this kind of visualization. And then it says offerings, praises, and the rest are performed as before. Okay, this is like how a lot of like short texts are actually written in Tibetan. It will be like a gyunker, a daily practice that has like whatever. Tree, I arise like this, do the mantra, and then it will just say, do the concluding and opening prayers as normal. So this means like, essentially, if you know this practice in its entirety, you would extract the opening prayers, offerings, praises, and things from that. Or you just do a general thing that you know and you connect with, right? You can do refuge and bodhicitta, and like you visualize like Chenrezig's mandala in front of you, Red Chenrezig in the form of Khorwa Dongtruk, and you say Om Vadra Argam Padyam Pushpam, right? You go through all that, you make offerings. It's the same sequence in every sadhana. You just kind of shorten it and take the essence and do that here, right? And then when you finish kind of doing the mantra and accumulation, same thing. Like in most sadhanas, like you make offering again, Argam Padyam Pushpe, right? You make an offering to mandala. You say some verses of auspiciousness, you say an aspiration prayer, whatever, even if it's something as simple as, may all beings realize the state of the great compassionate one, Red Chenrezig, right? It's like, that's a dedication prayer. It doesn't have to be always something super official that you extract from a text and like, I can't find it, where is it? You come from your heart and you say what you really feel about the practice, right? As long as you do those things, you've actually done the necessary steps for the practice. Okay, then it says like the wisdom beings depart and the samaya beings dissolve by saying Hong. So it's very kind of like simple, right? This style of practice. Hong. Then like connecting with the mind of all, of the enlightened mind of all these beings, like depart, where do they depart to actually, right? Rinpoche says there, it's beyond coming or going. However, in this case, we're kind of imagining that like now the beings return to their abodes, then you re-emerge and kind of everything dissolves. So here it's like the visualization dissolves, the mantra dissolves, and you mingle with kind of this open, spacious clarity that you've cultivated through image first. First you've cultivated through the image of being Red Chenrezig, and this builds up a certain quality, right? You're visualizing benefiting beings through this like rainfall of the Amrita of great compassion that liberates, right? You visualized light rays going out to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas coming in, the seed syllable Shri at your heart with the mantra surrounding. So all of this is like you've built up this compassionate energy actually, this like display. You've built up a compassionate display and you're abiding in that. Now you let that display collapse, dissolve, right? It just means like let it collapse and kind of mingle back with the open, open, empty awareness side, and you rest like that for whatever, 1 second, 2 seconds, 5 minutes, whatever you're able to do. Then it says re-emerge with pet. So then you say pet, or you can yell pet. I'm not going to yell; it will be too loud on the microphone. And this has to do with understanding the open, empty side of awareness, and that there's also the side of like spontaneous presence and movement, and like concentrated, compassionate energy that arises. This is pet. Pet. It's sharp, right? It's sharp and precise and alive. Then you re-emerge. Here it says like, you re-emerge as this Khorwa Dongtruk, Red Chenrezig. But what it really means is you re-emerge with not wavering from this mind of compassion that benefit beings and remaining in a state of open equanimity. This is what it means to be deity, right? Not just, I have red arms, I'm walking around. It's not just that, right? This is, what is that? Like, that trains a bit on vision. It means you rested, you are abiding for a moment in like your state, but it's not just about abiding. It's about actually like taking that awareness into movement and action. So this is pet. Pet. Now everything you do, you kind of remain in this state of knowing that this overflowing compassion for beings is there. Then you can just, it's something like now you can just walk around in your mind, recite the mantra. You can feel what it would be like to be, like if you're walking down the street, you're going into a grocery store, you're around beings. Like, what would it feel like to embody some sort of like compassion while you're moving, while you're being active, while you're engaging in the world, and like maintaining that kind of like state of open presence for others. This is what it means to like arise as the deity and like continue your day through that. So it's pretty straightforward. It's not like, it's nothing else to do, right? You recite the Mani mantra, you cultivate the visualization, and then you accumulate, once you're kind of rested and settled, you accumulate the Khorwa Dongtruk mantra that's in there, the longer mantra, right? And that's a very simplified way to kind of carry on this compassion for others, right? And like really kind of collapse outer and inner and expand our relative bodhicitta, and when we rest, we kind of settle and expand our ultimate bodhicitta by touching it a bit. So, of course, with all the things that are going on with Rinpoche, his condition, his health, even though he's like slowly recovering, he's really just constantly now, it's probably just going to be pointing out that time is short, life is short, the body's fleeting, and like we have to just be aware of our condition and be aware of other people's condition as well. So I'm sure that's why he's giving all of these kind of pith instructions on these different aspects of where we're at right now. Himself and ourself both, right? Yeah. Also, on a side note, this Dongtruk mantra is what's accumulated when the mani pills are made during a drupchen. So kind of like when we do the red Chenrezig of that we practice at GBI through Rinpoche, right? There's like a mani mantra, that the kind of pill mantra that we recite while we're blessing the pills. In this tradition, this is the same thing. You do this Vipula mantra and accumulate. Actually, it says something like 10,000 mantras for each pill. So I don't know, like a couple million mantras for each pill. That's gonna, wow, I hope you have a lot of people for the drupchen. A giant sack of like 500,000 little pills, Okay, it's gonna be a long drupchen. Anyway, point is you empower. You have to put all of your effort and like really concentrate when you're empowering the substances, right? It's not just, I put the ingredients, I said a mantra. It means you really mingle your mind and your awareness and your heart with all of these things that you do. Basically effort, right? It's just telling you, make effort. Don't be lazy. Yeah, I think that's it. There's really not much else to say. Anyway, it's quite amazing. It's a really nice practice. I guess I would close by saying that, any of these practices that we do, like all of the imagery actually really like initiates or opens up a gateway to a certain feeling and form of perception and like how we can relate, right? So if we're practicing a wrathful deity, it gives us this feeling of like, being kind of unstoppable, like this Vajra pride arises, right? Like no obstacles can get in our way, or like overpowering feeling, right? If you're practicing Tara for yourself, then you feel relaxed and peaceful, your mind can settle or whatnot. And then here in a practice like this, okay, like this, like standing, holding a vase, like kind of gracefully, right? Even the ornaments, there's not many adornments, right? It's Khorwa Dongtruk wearing some like silken yoga shorts, with a crown of flowers or like flower garland, and kind of being very free and open, elegant, red color, like, right? This like overcoming the normal desires of the world and giving your desire to benefit beings. So like even the imagery itself is supposed to invoke some sort of continuity in your mind of what the accomplishment is of the practice. Yeah, okay, now let's just take a moment.
Brian, there's a question in the chat.
Okay, thank you. Manager. Chat. Oh, no problem. How are we best to integrate this into our existing practice, assuming we already have Yidam practice, etc.? Yeah, just basically what was said in the end. You take this mind, doesn't matter what deity you practice actually. The main thing is you take this mind of kind of open, unrelenting, like mindful awareness infused with compassion and sort of like integrity for your surroundings. You kind of hold this integrity of being like what would Chenrezig do, right? Like how would you act in a situation when you're moving about? And it doesn't mean like, this is where like kind of puritanical views come into. It doesn't mean like you walk into a space, you're going to bow to somebody. Hello, it's so great, how amazing. You're also, you don't need to interact in some like bizarre way. You just maintain your space that's open, clear, compassionate, be kind, right? think about, like when thoughts come up, you just switch that into a contemplation of, wow, I wish other beings could also experience a state of peace and connect to a path that liberates them. If you have an encounter that's maybe not enjoyable, then you just you recall, okay, like this is samsara. Like how will I ever escape this if I don't return my exchange with some sort of like softness and being at ease in the situation. If you see, okay, like Andy wrote, he's on the bus right now. So you're on a bus, you're looking outside, you see something, you see like a homeless person, or you see a situation, traffic accident or something like that. Then you just project some form of like wish to benefit those beings. You see somebody. I hope may anybody in that car swiftly recover if they were hurt. May they not experience pain and suffering. May they be relieved. The person on the sidewalk, like how sad like this samsara has the karma for these conditions to arise. May they meet with a path that liberates at some point. You just put that out there, and like, what else can you do? There's not like you can't save everybody. You can't jump out and like take the world's heaviness in your own hands. It's not possible. But what you can do is start putting your thoughts out there in a beneficial way to as many instances as possible as you can, instead of shutting down and kind of just like going, oh, that's just the way it is, it doesn't matter, or just sitting and kind of like compartmentalizing and blocking off things that we don't necessarily want to see or deal with. You open up, you open your sense gates, you allow things in, and then you take the method of mantra, visualization, and abiding, collapsing this outer and inner dimension, and really seeing and wishing all beings to arise in that state. And of course, it's not going to liberate the beings, right? They still have to go through their own karma, and like their own karma and bakchaks have to be processed and liberated. But what it does is it deeply allows you to start expanding your field of awareness. It allows you to collapse your constructs, and then spontaneously and naturally, when you're interacting, having that vastness, right? When you've been around great teachers, that's just like, wow, like they're just able to hold space, and they're able to like interact with all of these beings, and like no matter how many people come up and ask a question, like they're not wavered, they don't show any signs of. You can't get there unless you start expanding your own awareness and mind to allow all of those things in, right? These great beings aren't judging anybody that comes up. Oh, this person, oh God, here's George, he's going to talk about his cat again. They're not thinking like that. It's just, okay, how can we actually how can I be responsive in a compassionate way that will allow that person to be at ease, and I can alleviate some of their tension through giving words that connect with Dharma in some way. It's all about like planting seeds, expanding your own awareness and mind, and kind of allowing the matrix of the circumstance to have every possible pathway to connect with Dharma somehow. Then, even on the most basic level, when we die and we're reborn, then at least we've programmed ourselves enough where the next thing that arises, right, through the own stirring of like our own energies and shared energies, then when those things come together, we kind of, what spills out is a collective vision that's more in line with something that liberates, right? So we're just trying to reprogram that what arises, again, connects with a path of liberation instead of a path of endless cycling. The path of endless cycling is our normal conceptual thoughts. The path that liberates, it's still within a realm of like cycling, but at least that path has a gateway and a doorway and an exit at some point, right? The other one is a maze that goes nowhere. It's a maze you can't escape from. At least this one, now there's some chance to like open up and benefit yourself and others. So that's it, really. Yeah. Okay, now just dedicate something in your mind. May all beings realize the state of the great compassionate one, Khorwa Dongtruk. Then I'll say Rinpoche's short, long life here, right? The one known in the Holy Land as Aryadeva emanated into the Gar clan of eastern Tibet as Chodingpa, the heart son of Jigten Gompo. May the life of the glorious Garchen remain steadfast for 100 aeons. In this age of strife, when the victor's teaching faces hardship, through his powerful Vajra-like conduct, he takes on himself the heavy responsibility of the unbiased teachings. May Garchen, the son of the teachings, live long. Okay. Thank you. That was nice to get together, impromptu, and go over the practice. I'll put it on YouTube later. Yeah, thank you everybody. Yeah, really good.